This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty, the man is ready. Before I go to Cham, DMB Entertainment is celebrating his 27th birthday. Happy birthday, DMB Entertainment, my man. Enjoy your 27th birthday and be safe this weekend out there. I don't know if you're in the South Florida area, but be safe with all that rain. All right, Wolfman, how you doing, baby? You doing good?
I'm good, man. I spent the morning trying to get all the stuff out of my house into a shed before the storm comes, prepping for this. I'm in a house for the first time, and so I got an important question for you as a South Florida native. Is this type storm one that you feel you need to put shutters up for? No? Okay.
No.
Cool, because I did not make the decision.
I don't even think you need to bring in your patio furniture, bro.
Got you.
Really, it's not.
It's my first time.
This
before I lived in a condo.
Rain. Yeah.
Huh?
This one's more rain than wind or anything.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Now I've got the confirmation. I told my wife that was a decision we made, and we're gonna live with it. So now I feel better about it.
Yeah. This isn't the kind of storm that we got to get really nervous about. Thank the Lord.
This is the first full season that I'll have where I'm not in a condo. I'm in a house. And so I've got different questions to answer.
Yeah. Hell, I had a guy. You could tell we're South Florida. There's a guy pressure cleaning my my roof of my house now.
Today. Oh, really?
It's actually a good day to do it, in a way, because it'll help wash out all that stuff too at the same time. But yeah, it's crazy because they're going to start painting next week. Thank God.
Right.
All right, so. You were around the guys. Obviously, I saw a lot of your social media posts and your hits on NFL Network and all that good stuff. I was just talking about this, and anybody that thinks there's a right way or a wrong way to be a coach or a CEO or a store manager, you're wrong. To me, it's all about communicating with people, and I think McDaniel has done a great job. When you heard Tua yesterday talking about opening up, and plus he opens up to you, which is something that you normally don't get from Tua. I think this is good for Tyreek Hill. I think this is good for Teron Armstead. I think this is good for Jerome Baker and X-Men and Byron Jones and everybody out there. I think you have a better opportunity if your boss communicates with you and connects with you in one way or another. Because you will be a better employee for your boss when you do that. And I think that's what Mike McDaniel, I don't know whether it works or not, whether he knows what he's doing or not as a head coach, we'll find out. But where I do agree with him is that I think that what the approach he's taking in getting to know his players and communicating and connecting with them, it gives him the best chance to get the max out of them. Agree or disagree?
So it's interesting to me, kind of seeing the contrast between Brian Flores and Mike McDaniel. And like you mentioned, they haven't played any games yet. So, for all we know, they can go 2-15 this year, and we all complain about Mike McDaniel's style by the end of the year. Right. But I will say, there's a new era of players coming in here. And I do think that listening to players talk about Mike McDaniel, he's a little bit more representative of the coach that the new eras of players appreciate because he meets them at their level. What other coach is walking around with Yeezys? What other coach, from a football perspective, allows guys like Teron Armstead, Xavier Howard, Emmanuel Ogbah to an extent, some of these guys who got new contracts to essentially take it easy in this stage of the offseason. A lot of coaches would be like, nah, we just paid you. You better be out there every single day, taking these April reps, these May reps, and doing it. And for him, I think he just realizes, what value are we going to get out of Teron Armstead putting extra miles on his knees during May and June practices? So I do think there's value in that. And I do think it was interesting because I know we're going to talk a lot about Tua because he had a big day on the field and off and with the front of the mic yesterday. But I did think it was interesting for him to talk about how he was really the first coach who was extremely positive for him that he's had in his career. And so everybody's going to make the flow comparison back and forth. But for me, just thinking about it in that mindset, like I know for me, even growing up playing sports, most of my coaches were like hard asses. They were like, hey, this is the way you got to do things.
Right.
Run up the hill. We're going to run you to death. This is how it is. And so my mindset of a coach is more of what Tua's experienced. And so these new age coaches come in and we don't know if it'll be good or not, but I think it brings a different breath of energy here. And I think people walk around the building differently with a different level of excitement, different level of fun. And so I think that's my overall view of things in June, that, hey, Mike McDaniel's brought in more of a releasing free element among the players rather than sort of a dictator type style.
I don't think LaFleur or Sean McVay are or the guy in Arizona,
Kingsbury. Yeah.
I don't think those guys are mother effing anybody on the field.
Right.
I don't know. I think they're kind of like he is, in a way. They're kind of those kind of cerebral, try to be cool type coaches. You know what I mean? I think they try to reach players by showing them that this works. And you know how it is. You've been around players. We were just talking about this with Omar. The reason why Belichick can be a dick, it's because it works.
Right. You got to win. You got to win first.
Right. If it didn't work, then you can't get away with it. They may hate playing for you, but because it works, they will tolerate it. You know what I mean?
Right.
They would probably rather work with Sean McVay, who's Mr., hyper, pump up, positive all the time, energy, doesn't forget a damn thing ever, can remember everything. And they vibe with a guy like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's a different, now he's winning. So what he's selling works. And in the end, that's what I think McDaniel's giving himself a chance.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, football is an interesting element because we grow up as a kid's game. Like I started playing football when I was 7 or 8, and a lot of these players did too earlier. And so you grow up of fun football, kids game, and then when you get here, everything becomes toughness, macho, seriousness, discipline, all these elements, and it becomes really focused on that. And yes, you have to be disciplined to win. Yes, you have to be tough. But a lot of these things are inherent in people. You're either going to be tough or you're not. Like, I'm not going to teach you how to be tough. So for me, I don't need my coach to preach toughness. Now, discipline is one thing that's different. You do need to teach discipline. But I do think there's like a fresh air and these new eras of coaches like Mike McDaniel. And he intrigues me more than some of these other coaches because, like I've mentioned to somebody on the field, you're not going to know Mike McDaniel by looking at him as the head coach at all. Like he does not look like a head coach size-wise or demeanor-wise. Like, so as far as like standing in front of the team, what you ideally see as a head coach, that it's hard to see that with Mike McDaniel. But if he can create the atmosphere that I hear players say he's already created, then you can change the mindset of what a coach is supposed to look like and what a coach is supposed to do. And to me, I think that's a positive in this new era. I want us to change the sort of quote unquote criteria or box of what a coach is supposed to look like. And so, I think all of that are positives you can take out of it. Now, like everything, if they start off 2-4, I can already see the columns. Coach McDaniel's more worried about fashion than than coaching the football team. So there's pros and cons here. But if he wins, then why not have your players enjoy the experience and enjoy the community and enjoy being themselves while you win?
I was talking with Omar, and he was really critical of the offense yesterday. And he said outside of a couple passes and what he's seen at times, he thinks it's been unacceptable. But to me, like I'm reading an article this morning, Deshaun Watson threw a couple pick sixes and all that, and it's almost like at that moment, it's a good moment to pile on because his off the field stuff is building. So all of a sudden now, Deshaun Watson forgot how to play football because he had a bad day. Like we all have bad days. Deshaun Watson's in a new offense with new players.
Right.
And the entire Dolphin offense is in a new offense. Everybody's learning, and we're ultra critical or over excited. Last week when he had a couple good passes, I didn't get excited. I didn't. The only thing I said is, those of you that got off the bandwagon, you're not getting back on again when we're running, and it's rolling. Okay, that's all I said. Because May and June football, to be dissecting May and June football, is absolutely insanity, my brother.
It's crazy. You know my stance, Big O. I am not breaking down. You're not going to get a practice report out of me in May or June. This is not reality. I was doing a Twitter.
I was telling Omar, you're not hitting. We don't even know who the linemen are. I haven't seen Alex Ingold pick up the middle linebacker on a blitz, which then buys to another half a second to make probably the throw that you needed to make. I haven't seen those kind of things. Could you wait? Could we relax a little bit?
So yeah, I do not try to kill players or anoint players based off what they do in May and June. I think that's ridiculous. I think I mentioned this to you before, but I did a Twitter Spaces last night. Once again, somebody was commenting about, hey, which undrafted free agent do you think has made the biggest jump to make the team? I'm like, dude, it is June. I barely know all the dudes on the roster name. Like, I'm looking down here on a sheet. Who is this 59 dude who just made it? I don't know. This is June.
They're shorts.
I'm looking for highlights. I'm looking for big picture things. And then I'm trying to go home so that I can chill. So this is June. That's the way I view it. But I will say, like, looking at it on a bigger macro view, the defense is definitely headed to offense. And so I don't think that's a huge surprise, but like just kind of the view overall, I think that there have been times where the offense has struggled, to a pretty good extent. Like Wednesday's practice was a very rough day for the offense. Like if you were just judging it for a day, for me, I do not overreact. It's a June practice where some people may say, hey, this is a reason to panic. For me, it's not. But if you want an overall view, like an honest view, yeah, the defense has definitely been ahead of the offense. I am a little concerned with the offensive line. But like you said, we're not in pads yet. Teron Armstead hasn't been practicing, so you haven't seen your left tackle out there. We saw a little bit of the news yesterday that we put out there that Connor Williams said that he's likely to play center. I'm a little concerned about signing a player and then moving them to a different position, but I also have not seen it work. And so I'm of the opinion I give it a chance in training camp. I give the coaches a chance to do what their vision is. And if it's struggling in August, then my concern rises and I start talking about it on TV. But I know the platform I have on TV. And so if I start talking about this struggles in June, it's going to blow up. And I don't feed into that.
And by the way, he's supposed to have snapping issues.
Right. Yep.
He wasn't playing center.
Yep.
So that's why we're in May and June, bro, to kind of, get all this out of here and see if he can do it or not. And I'm sure this experiment also is for them to say, are we sure or do we go JC Treader? Because Omar thinks that's dead. I'm not sure yet. I'm not ready to say that Connor is going to be the center. I
don't think JC Treader is going to be a Dolphins center.
No?
But nonetheless, like I said, I think you hit on the money there. You know what you have in Michael Dieter. So for whatever reason, the Connor Williams experience doesn't work in center, then you can obviously move him back to left guard, a position he's played. So if I had one area I probably had the most concern out of going into the summer, it would be the O-line still. But again, it's June. It's June. Like,
who the hell thinks the line was supposed to be solved in June, right?
Yes,
exactly. That's my point. All I know is Connor Williams and Teron Armstead are and Robert Hunt are for sure starters.
Yep.
Whether it's Connor at center or left guard, I don't care.
Right.
But I know that there are still two spots that are shady, and we have like 5-6 guys that are battling for that spot. So can we wait for the damn training camp? Can we wait for the practices and the preseason games?
We need content, Big O. You know how this works.
I know,
content but it drives the summer. They got to talk about something on these June shows.
I get it, but it's ridiculous content now. It gets to a point now. So now in Cleveland, one of our guys that's watching on the show earlier, he lives in Cleveland. He goes, they're freaking out on radio about Deshaun's practice. And it's like, seriously, dude? Did you not watch him at Clemson? Did you not watch him at Houston? Yeah. What do you think? He forgot to play? It's freaking June, bro. Relax.
Yeah.
Let him
Yeah.
throw a couple of interceptions. He's got new players and a new scheme. It's like it's too much dissecting for nothing right now. And that I get the content, but let's talk about the the mental approach that McDaniel has with his players. The fact that Tua is opening up, does this help him as a player? That's the kind of content I would like to talk to you about. Like, okay, so does an open Tua, a more comfortable Tua, does he have a better chance to succeed with McDaniel than one that is battered and badgered and shut down by and not believed in by Flo? That's the kind of content that
Right.
I want to talk about, because
Right.
you had a player that was basically being told by the head coach, I don't want you. I don't believe in you. In fact, Jabroni Brissett is going to start over you, even though I know you can play. You go play golf. I'm going to use Jabroni. Okay, so the mental state that he was in last year or the mental state he's in now, that's legitimate content that you and I can talk about. But to be judging every day, last week when he had the long passes that were good, I didn't say a damn thing about it. I didn't care about it.
Right.
The only thing I said is that I want to have fun. Is those of you off the Tua bandwagon, you ain't
Yeah.
getting back on. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm saying. Omar
Yeah.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Alan Pupar. Okay.
yeah.
Shad.
By the way, for Cleveland fans, I would be far more concerned about Watson's growing lawsuits than the interceptions.
Exactly.
That's just my view. That's just my view on
the
that.
content you talk about. Yes.
But yeah, like, to be honest, as far as the Tua workout, like, the offense is still not like full in steam. Like, even yesterday's practice, they weren't like on the money, but he did have those two deep balls. But beyond just the deep balls, because like I've said this on TV and I've said this to this show. Like, I think I mentioned this on TV last week and maybe on the show, but players were asking me like, hey, where did the narrative come from that Tua couldn't throw the deep ball? Like, we see him throw 50, 55, sometimes a 60-yard pass in practice, and they're good passes. And so we know he has the ability to throw it. And so we just think it's maybe a scheme thing. We think it's a better offensive line thing. These are some of the things that Mike McDaniel actually referenced yesterday as well, talking about the practical element of throwing the ball 55 yards compared to 85 yards. Like, yes, Tua cannot throw it as far as Justin Herbert or Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. He won't ever be able to throw it that far, I don't think. But when in a game do you have to unleash an 80-yard pass?
By the way, Montana could never do that either, and
Right.
He's better than all the guys you just mentioned.
And so for me, like, even beyond like the show people he could throw the deep ball thing, it's what you mentioned earlier. It's the openness of Tua. Like, I've covered this guy for a little over 2 years, and I feel like I know about him a lot, but I don't feel like I know him super well because, as he said yesterday, he is guarded by nature. And so to hear him kind of throw a little spicy swag around, talk a little trash. Like, I know people close to him, and I know him to an extent, and they say, hey, this is how he is around his people. He'll be like hanging out with the boys and he'll be talking trash. He'll talk to some, and like, we don't really see that version of him because he's, trying to be a certain vision. And so for me, even beyond seeing him throw a 50-yard pass to Tyreek Hill, it was seeing him be himself and feeling comfortable enough, whether that was Mike McDaniel, like he said, or whether it was just to shut up the Twitter warriors, whatever his priority was there, just to kind of see him be himself and kind of talk a little trash, kind of say, hey, did you see that? Like, seeing that, to me, that if you have a more comfortable Tua, a more open Tua, that to me translates on the field. And so we won't see truly until September. Like, everybody's going to still have those same questions. If you doubt Tua, you're going to have the same questions in August. Can he maximize Tyreek Hill? Can he maximize Jalen Waddle? Can he throw the deep ball? You're going to have the same questions. Him doing that in practice, him saying that does not change your view. But for me, what does change is I see a guy that's willing to bite back a little bit, willing to feel himself, willing to grab his nuts a little bit and say, hey, I'm the shit. I'm the shit. And I know it. And so I think every quarterback, even if you're a little bit of an internal guarded person by nature, has to have a little bit of like that FU, that FU mentality in him.
Yes,
and so I saw a little bit out of him for it, and I was like, okay, hell yeah, let's see more of that. So that's just my personal view, and to me, that was a bigger takeaway than seeing him complete a pass to Tyreek Hill in June.
Yeah, dude, you don't come off the bench in the key moment in Alabama and win the national championship if you don't have swag, if you don't have the
Yeah,
edge, if you don't believe in yourself. You don't do the things he does. Just simply, I don't think I know I'm in the minority in this. I think he was phenomenal his rookie year because you bust up your hip in late November. You're ready to play in September with a team that's really not that good, with reps that you never took throughout the offseason because you weren't the number one guy, and you were rehabbing most of the offseason, not playing football, and yet you still threw more touchdowns and interceptions. You won more than you lost under not great conditions and not a great coaching staff. Like, what more do you want from that young man? You know what I mean? When he's
right.
coming back from a brutal hip injury. And I think now, 2 years later, you're finally going to see the guy that is healthy, that is now confident, and is also now supported, which was the other thing he didn't have for 2 years. That, to me, that's the problem I have with all of this. There's been so much over analyzing and not enough common sense and not enough credit for what he's been able to overcome, considering how bad of a situation it's been physically and then obviously football wise. And then we throw in last year, he's playing with broken ribs, he's playing with a fractured finger on his throwing hand, and you want him to maximize his body.
Yep.
How do you do that? You're not 100% yet, probably. Now you probably are with the hip. Now you are with the ribs, and now you are with the finger. So last year, you're still playing with debilitating physical traits. Your line can't block. You had the worst pass block rate in the NFL, yet you were one of the least sacked quarterbacks.
Right.
Doesn't that register to you? When guys are constantly pressured and they don't have a block, they don't have a blocking scheme, and they don't have a running game, what they usually do is throw a shit ton of interceptions and look absolutely completely lost. That wasn't him. He made plays in chaos. He found opportunities to do things. And I don't think people give him enough credit for what he's been able to overcome with all the limitations around him. That's why I'm excited this year, because if McDaniel can free the football limitations, he already has freed the mental limitations. If he frees that, I think the kid's going to be a star, man. I really do.
Yeah, I think Tua will be fine. That's been my view. But I do think there will be a onus of pressure on him. I
Oh,
don't
for sure.
absolve him for his first 2 years. Like, I think we're a little different. Like, I think we both think that Tua is kind of headed on a path where he can prove it this year, and I think he'll do it. You think he'll do it, but I do think that I give him a good bit of blame for the last couple of years, even though the surrounding system wasn't what it needed to be. I'm of the belief that your quarterback is your quarterback. So he knows he has to take a lot of that blame. And so I don't think that he was great. I think that he was probably somewhere around the average range. But I don't think he was bad. And I think that he has to take that next step to be good to great. And that comes, now with your weapons. And so I think we talked about it earlier this offseason. He views it as an opportunity instead of pressure. But there is an onus on him. Like,
For sure.
they're like, although I think it's overblown, a lot of the people who are doubting him, there is some validity in why they're doubting him. The questions are there of, can he lead the team and lead them to wins because of him and not just with him? And so right now, I think you can win with Tua, but can you win because of him? And I don't think you need to have a 70-yard arm to win because of a quarterback.
No.
You just have to prove consistently in the fourth quarter, if the ball's in Tua's hands, I have confidence that he's going to be able to lead us down the field and get us a score. And so that's what I really want to see Tua do this year. That, hey, there's going to be at least a few games this year where whether it's because the defense gives up a score, or whether it's the offense just needs to beat a really good team, he's going to get the ball with 2 or 3 minutes left on his own zone, 20, 25-yard line. Can you lead him down for a touchdown to win? That's what I think is going to define Tua this year.
All right, let's wrap it up with this. His comments when he was talking about how positive McDaniel is, and then he's never had a coach like that, and he's used to having a whole bunch of tough coaches on him, and he started to reel off the coaches, and he stopped at Saban. He did not mention the next dude.
Yeah.
And to me, I not that he said it, but I almost took it like, yeah, all these guys were tough on me. I didn't mention Flo because he's an a-hole. It wasn't that he was tough on me, he was just a jerk with me. I almost kind of read into that. He didn't have to say it, but it was just one of those that he sent many messages yesterday. Some were kind of obvious, and maybe some had were a little incognito.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever gonna hear Tua say Brian Flores' name in the media again. Like even when I asked him earlier this offseason, I think in April, about what he reviewed about their relationship. Remember that? And he essentially was like, tough question. What can I say? I'm glad that he drafted me. And that was kind of his viewpoint. He didn't even say his name then. He just said he. So I think that,
and he did, and by the way, he didn't draft him, so it doesn't really matter. Also,
and so we're gonna talk. Like, it's interesting because they play the Steelers this year on Sunday Night Football, and so you're gonna see that matchup, and I'm sure there's gonna be a ton of conversations about that. We're gonna ask both parties about it, and I already know Tua and the Dolphins are gonna prep their answers so that they don't say anything highlight worthy there. But clearly that relationship did not go well. Go ahead.
No prediction.
Yeah,
he's gonna complete a lot of passes to the middle of the field where linebackers are covering.
Exposing the linebackers. Who's the linebackers coach there? Oh, who's the linebackers coach?
I know he won't say it, but I'll say it, Brian Flores.
But yeah, that I'm excited for that matchup. I think it'll be fun. I don't think, knowing both of those dudes, I don't think Flo is going to say anything. I don't think Tua is going to say anything, but I do think there obviously is some tension there, at least from Tua's side. We saw Flo doesn't feel like there's any tension, but Tua definitely does by his answers. And
I bet Flo doesn't even talk that week.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's a linebackers coach, so he doesn't have to talk to the media, but I think once a month. So I'm sure the Steelers will make it so that once a month isn't that week.
No, plus he knows what's coming, so he's not going to want to deal with that stuff. He's going to want to move on. He's not going to want to be a distraction to Tomlin. Also, he's not going to do that either to him because Tomlin gave him this break. So yeah, there's no way you won't hear from Flo that week. Tua will have no choice because he's going to come to the podium and somebody's going to ask him about that.
Yeah, I think it's a question worth asking too. I mean, I think
have to ask it.
I think it's worth asking. We're not going to ask them all through the year, but I think it's worth asking that week given the circumstances. So I think this is going to be fun. Like I do get a little tired of all the black and white conversation on Tua. Like I know that's how sports media talk is, but I'm one of the guys who I'm maybe like a dark gray on Tua, but I'm still in the gray. I want to see him prove it consistently. But I do think that I do have belief that he will. And so I'm not going to be a hot take artist one way or the other, but I do think I can't wait till September because we're finally going to start to get an answer to what's been the question here for the last 2 or 3 years. So I'm glad that he's starting to get his swag and showing us the swag. And, now we can see it on the field. I will tell you, man, Tyreek Hill is going to make a huge difference for this team. Every time I watch practice, it's like it's even more than I thought it was going to be. Like I've watched this kid. Or not kid, he's older than me, but I watched this guy play on TV and in person, and I've seen it, but just seeing him on the practice field, like Jalen Waddle's a really good player. Tyreek Hill is faster than him. Like we talked about racing, Tyreek Hill would win that race. Just watching him run off, there's a different level of speed. And so I'm eager to see how they utilize him. All the players rave about Mike McDaniel being this genius. And so we've only seen bits and pieces of the offense. I'm eager to see how it all comes together. And
he'll open it up for all these other guys, man. Waddle and Gesicki and said, and the running game, they're going to love having Tyreek Hill out there, man, because it's going to suck up 2 people.
Right.
Whether you like it or not, there's no corner that's just, you stay with Tyreek.
Right.
And really, coach? Yep. Like, really? Like, what? What are you doing? What are you, Brian Flores? You expect me to cover that guy? Come on,
But I'm going to give you a prediction here before I go. I already know that if Tua has a really good start to the year, first month or two in the season, the narrative is going to be that any quarterback could do it with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle at receiver. So I already expect it, but I just think that it's something to remember now that the narrative's this about Tua, that if for some reason he does look as great as you think he's going to look, Big O, and kind of prove himself to kind of take that next step, that it's going to be interesting to see how the narrative changes.
I'm ready. I'm ready. That's all right. And Marino won big with the Marx brothers.
Right. So
I get it. And when he didn't have the Marx brothers, he probably didn't have the same kind of success. Yeah, I get it, dude. I get it. And when Joe Montana didn't have Rice and Taylor, yeah, he probably didn't have the same kind of success.
Right.
I wonder, huh? Yeah, right. I know.
Right.
I get it.
Hey, dude. Great players make other players better. Who would have thought it?
Yes. The Steelers won 4 titles because they were freaking loaded. Right. And when Bradshaw dropped back, it was Stallworth and Swan and Franco Harris and Rocky Blyer. I mean, we could just go through time.
Right.
You know, the greatest show on turf is the greatest show on turf, not just because of Kurt Warner, because Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce and Oz Hakeem and some guy named Marshall Falk or something like that.
Right.
I mean, you know, give me a break. Marshall Falk was Tyreek Hill as a running back.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's Tyreek Hill as a running back.
Yep.
His name is Marshall Falk.
Yep. Greatest show on
turf. For you youngins out there, if you want to see Tyreek Hill as a running back, his name is Marshall Falk. Go look at that. And Kurt Warner's still a deadly-ass quarterback.
Yep.
The accuracy. And that's all Tua has to do. Go be accurate, make plays in key moments, get it to your stars, and you'll eventually get the credit that you deserve.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
and stay healthy. Stay healthy.
Right. Yes.
Stay healthy and be consistent. He's shown glimpses. He's come back from behind a couple times last year. He's shown us glimpses of being able to win. He has to consistently do it and stay healthy for a 16, 17 game period. Take this team to the playoffs. And ideally, no promises, but ideally, the questions start to end about, is he the guy?
Well, home rookie Storm Chaser, have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay dry. We will catch up next week, my friend. I appreciate you.
All right, appreciate you.
You got it. There he is. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. Catch his work at the NFL Network doing his thing. That is the Wolf Pack.